What's up everyone, we're going to be going through the best NBA player props on PrizePicks today. Now don't forget to like this video as it does let me know to continue to give you free picks every day. So make sure to like this video clicking that button down below. And if we get 600 likes, I will do another video for tomorrow. Now I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group. And as you guys see, we actually got 20 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. Now a lot of you comment wanting to see how many I got wrong, and I thought I'd show you in today's video. We only got 2 picks wrong, got 20 right, which is a 96% win rate. Yes, guys, you heard that right. 96% win rate. So we're on a huge hot streak, but if you want to get a 96% win rate and get 20 picks right like me, win more bets and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon. Should be linked down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure to join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $400 just yesterday, and another member who won $300 for the 5th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description. So go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group. And I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel, the best bets and props. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. So quick shout out to Chris Betts 02T who said cash. So shouts out to him. And if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below on this one and like it, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. All right, so let's get straight into the first pick and getting into the next one, or the first one, sorry. We're going to be talking about Dylan Harper. Now, as we all know, Dylan Harper, great player, and this one is for a new series that we will be touching on very shortly, but this one is actually for points and rebounds. So this one is a combo one for actually 15.5, and this one is for less. Now, when we look at Dylan Harper, we actually have seen him go on the under in 1 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, we do actually see that Dylan Harper gone on the under in a very small amount of those matchups. What we do also see is that on May 7th, faced off against the Minnesota Timberwolves, actually had 18 points and rebounds in that matchup. After that, we also did see, May 9th, faced off against Minnesota again, had 12 points and rebounds. Then after that, we also did see 31 points and rebounds against Minnesota on May 11th. May 13th, faced off against Minnesota Timberwolves, had 22 points and rebounds, then 20 points and rebounds against Minnesota on May 16th. So very interesting to see. Obviously, looking at Dylan Harper, it is going to be a very exciting game or matchup, as they do now face off against none other than actually Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, I do also have to mention that his average over the last 5 is 20.6, but touching more on this matchup and where they actually do lie when it comes to both of these teams. Now, this is a start of the new series, and not just any series, because this is the start of the conference finals. So this is going to be a big game for sure. When we actually look at this, we do also see, starting off with San Antonio Spurs. Spurs do actually come in at the actual second spot in the Western Conference. They have definitely done a great job there, because they've actually come in at the, second spot, 62 wins, 20 losses, a 75.6% win percentage there. And on top of that are 32-8 from home, 29-12 from away, and finish off the season with a 1-game losing streak. So really interesting to see from them there. Obviously, looking at their matchup, which is none other than Oklahoma City Thunder, we do actually see that Thunder did come in at the #1 spot in the actual Western Conference. Now, they have 64 wins and 18 losses during the regular season, a 78% win percentage there, 34-7 from home, 30-10 from away, and are currently on a 2-game losing streak. So really interesting to see from them there. Obviously, for someone like Dylan Harper, we definitely have seen Dylan Harper be a very big asset for this team, but it is going to be an exciting matchup, because what we do know is that they face off against a Thunder team that not only rank a little bit higher than them, but we do also know when it comes to points allowed, Oklahoma City Thunder come in at the #2 spot, allowing 107.9 points per game. And then rebounds allowed, we also see Oklahoma City Thunder, they do rank a little bit worse, but they rank 20th, allowing 45.2 rebounds per game. So we actually have seen Oklahoma City Thunder do a great job in points. Yes, they do rank a little bit worse in rebounds, but we do like the under for this because coming into this matchup, what we do also see is that Dylan Harper, this is going to be his first game against Oklahoma City Thunder, and OKC actually do a fantastic job against his position. So for that reason, we are definitely expecting the under for this situation here. We definitely see him going on the under due to the fact that, you know, when we look at someone like Dylan Harper, yes, he is a big player for this team, but there are a lot of other players who have a bit more of a higher usage rate out there, which could definitely lead to those players doing a lot more of the heavy lifting. Now, this is always game one, and I always do say this about game ones. Game ones can definitely be interesting because game ones, definitely we see both teams playing, you know, a very different sort of style as they are trying to figure out, you know, defensive strategies, offensive strategies for the rest of the series. And for someone like Dylan Harper, as I mentioned, who isn't the main player, his, you know, usage rate will definitely get affected probably the most. So that's why coming into this one, we do very much like the actual, you know, under for this situation here. Now, when we look at, you know, Dylan Harper and the San Antonio Spurs facing off against OKC, we have actually seen them face off against each other a couple of times already during the actual, you know, playoffs. During the actual regular season. So when we look at this, we saw their first matchup on the 13th of December. Now, we saw in that matchup actually a very, you know, interesting, I guess, stat line from him because he had 25 minutes of game time, but had 8 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and also 1 block there. So really interesting to see. Obviously, looking at that, we do also know for someone like Dylan Harper, coming into that game, we did actually see him go on the under there. Then we saw on the 23rd of December, had 20 minutes, 4 points, 3 rebounds, 10 assists, 5 steals, and 0 blocks in that matchup. And then what we also saw in that matchup, he went on the under. Then we saw on the 25th of December, had 20 minutes, 12 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 0 steals, and 0 blocks there. So very, very interesting to see in that matchup. Obviously, he did actually, you know, do a pretty good job in that game, but he still went on the under as he had 15. So we have him for 15.5. And then we saw on the 13th of January, him actually have 26 minutes, 12 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 0 steals, and also 0 blocks there. So really interesting to see. Now, when we actually look at this, we do also see that, you know, Dylan Harper is in a position where we have definitely, you know, seen him go on the under in all 4 of these games. So that definitely does give us a lot of confidence on why we do like the under for this for sure. Now, for someone like Dylan Harper as well, what we also do know is that when it actually comes to someone like Dylan Harper, you know, although his minutes in some of these games are definitely a little bit higher, we didn't really see a change in that much of the usage rate. You know, it really just depended on that actual game, which is why coming into this next one, we do very much like the under for it. Now, for someone like Dylan Harper, when we look at his actual, you know, pros line, what they do have him for, now we have him for 15.5 as we've mentioned. So we have him for a pretty good line. However, pros do have him for a slightly different one because they have him for 14.5. So they have him for a slightly different line. We can't really go off what the bookies are saying in that sense since it is a different line there. What we can definitely take a look at is the projection. Now, the projection is 14.6. Now, although it does say over here, this is actually, you know, correct in a sense of compared to the line that they do have a 14.5. But compared to our line, this is actually the under because as I mentioned before, we are getting Dylan Harper at 15.5, which I think is an absolute steal. And the fact that they haven't projected for only 14.6, it gives us a lot of confidence as it is very much under this line that we have him for. Now, when we adjust the line to ours of 15.5, we've seen he's gone on the under in only around 34% of these matchups. So yes, he has gone on the over more than he's gone on the under over the last 15. But as I mentioned before, this is a different team. This is the Oklahoma City Thunder, one of the best teams and one of the best defensive teams in actually the whole league in general. So, you know, unfortunately for someone like Dylan Harper, we won't really expect him to have have that great of a usage rate coming into this game, and it can definitely affect his, I would say his overall usage rate out there on the floor. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for them. So for that reason, Dylan Harper for 15.5 points and rebounds for less, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about Ajay Mitchell. So Ajay Mitchell, as we all know, great player and has been a big asset for this actual Oklahoma City Thunder team. But what we do also know, looking at this matchup, is that, Ajay Mitchell, we like him for, points and assists. However, this one actually is for less as well. So this for 16.5 points and assists for less. Now, when we look at this line, we actually have seen Ajay Mitchell go on the under in 0 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, we do actually see, April 28th faced off against Phoenix, had 28 points and assists in that matchup. Then May 6th faced off against, LA Lakers, had 22 points and assists in that matchup, 26 points and assists against LA Lakers on May 8th. After that, May 10th faced off against the Lakers again, had 34 points and assists, and 32 points and assists against LA Lakers on May 12th. So we actually have seen him go on the under in 0 out of the last 5, as we've mentioned. But we also do know, looking at those 5 games, is that, his average over the last 5 is also 28.4. So he's actually done a pretty good job over the last 5 games for sure. But you do always have to realize that this is against none other, than the LA Lakers series and also a little bit of that Phoenix series. So he's actually gone on the, under in none of these games, but now Oklahoma City Thunder face off against none other than the San Antonio Spurs. Now, looking at both of these teams and, San Antonio Spurs and also, the Oklahoma City Thunder, what we have seen from both of them so far this season is that OKC, starting off with where they do rank, I know we have touched on it, but just quickly remind you all again, Oklahoma City Thunder had the #1 record in the Western Conference. And not only did they have the #1 record in the Western Conference, but they also had the #1 record, in the whole of the NBA. So it's definitely been very big for them. When we look at this matchup, what we also do know is that Thunder have 64 wins, 18 losses under their belt, a 78% win percentage. And on top of that, we see 34-7 from home, 30-10 from away, and are currently on a 2-game losing streak. So really interesting to see from them there. Obviously, looking at someone like Ajay Mitchell and Oklahoma City Thunder, they have been very dominant so far this kind of off season, and also during the season, as in off season, as in the postseason, I mean. And when we look at their journey to this point in the conference finals, they did have to go through the Phoenix Suns in that first round. Then they were able to knock out the LA Lakers pretty easily, and now they find themselves in very close sides to winning another NBA championship, as they have one more conference finals to get through to get to that finals position. But they do have to face off against a very tough Spurs team, because what we actually have seen from Spurs is that Spurs do rank 2nd in the Western Conference. So this is a battle between the top 2 teams in the actual Western Conference. So there's definitely a lot of, I would say, demand there for this matchup, because these are the top 2 teams that a lot of people did think are going to win this series, and looking at, win the Western Conference. But looking at Spurs, they rank 2nd in the Western Conference, 62 wins, 20 losses, a 75.6% win percentage there, 32-8 from home, 29-12 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. Now, their actual, I guess, sort of journey to this point in the conference finals has been a little bit interesting, because they faced off against the Portland Trailblazers, where even though Portland were a 7th team, they did actually cause them a little bit of trouble there. But they also faced off against Timberwolves, who were 6th, and they were able to beat them just recently, and now they find themselves in the conference finals as well. So this is going to be a battle between 2 big teams. I do definitely see, someone like Ajay Mitchell having a little bit of a different sort of usage rate out there, because when we look at Spurs and where they do rank, we do actually see that Spurs are in a position where they do actually, fall in a position where Spurs rank when it comes to points allowed 8th, allowing 111.5 points per game. And then what we also do see when we look at, where they do rank when it comes to assist allowed, we do actually see assist wise, Spurs do rank 12th, allowing 26.2 assists per game. So they actually rank pretty well in both of these categories, which is why we are definitely liking the under for this situation here. And we definitely see someone like Ajay Mitchell being able to go on the under in this case. Now, when we actually look at this, what we also do know, looking at, Ajay Mitchell, although he has gone on the over quite a lot, the reason why we do like the under for this is due to the fact that, OKC, they run Ajay Mitchell at that guard position, and Spurs just do a fantastic job against that. What we also do know when it comes to, this matchup is that Ajay Mitchell, yes, he has gone on the over quite recently over the last couple of games, but you do also have to realize that those games were against different teams. I do believe it's now overinflated this line a little bit too much, that now there's a lot more value actually to go on the under. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for the under for this one for someone like Ajay Mitchell coming into this game. And we definitely see a lot of value there for someone like, AJ to be able to go on the under in this case. Now, when we look at Ajay Mitchell, what we also have seen from him so far is that he is in a position where, AJ has faced off against Oklahoma City Thunder twice before. And looking at those matchups, we do actually see that they have faced off against each other, in some, I would say late last year, early this year, and that was their first matchup being on the 13th of December. Now, in that matchup, what we actually did see from them is that he actually had 24 minutes of game time, actually had 9 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 0 blocks there. So really, really interesting from Ajay Mitchell in that matchup. Obviously, he did actually go on the, under in that game. And then what we also did see from their actual second game against each other on the 13th of January, we saw 30 minutes, 11 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, and 0 blocks there. So when we actually look at this, we do know that, Ajay Mitchell is in a position where he has gone on the under in both of those games. So although he's gone on the over quite recently in a lot of those matchups, and a lot of people are saying, oh, he has a ability to do it again, we definitely still see someone like him going on the under in this case. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for the under for someone like Ajay Mitchell coming into this game, and we definitely see a lot of value there. Now, when we look at this as well, what we also do know, looking at what the pros do have him at, when we scroll over to the pros, we actually do see that they have him for a slightly different line, because they actually have him for 15.5. So we have him for 16.5. I do believe we are getting him for a very, very good deal. But what we also do know when we look at this is that, Ajay Mitchell at 15.5, they, since it is a different line, we can't really go off what the bookies are saying there. But what we can definitely still see is the projection, and the projection that they do have is 16.6. So they have him actually projected for the over, even if you compare it to actually our line. So for that reason, we are definitely expecting, the under for this situation, even though the projection is predicting otherwise. We are going against that projection here, but it definitely still gives us a lot of confidence coming into this game for sure. So I definitely would keep an eye out for the under for this one for someone like Ajay Mitchell. And what we also do see when it comes to AJ is that Ajay Mitchell is in a position where we've seen the last 15 games, he has gone on the under in actually, when we adjust the line to ours, in 40% of those matchups. But a lot of the times he has gone on the over was against his most recent matchups during that playoff series. So you definitely want to take that with a grain of salt, and we should see a very different sort of outcome coming into this next game for sure. So for that reason, Ajay Mitchell for actually 16.5 points and assists for less, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about none other than Julian Champagnie. Now, as I mentioned before, all these picks are going to be from the same game, guys, because, there is only a couple of actual series left, and this is the only game for today. So looking at this matchup, however, we do also see that, Julian, this one is for points, rebounds, and assists, so a PRA for 16.5, and this one actually is for less. Now, when we look at Julian, we actually have seen him go in the under in 2 out of the last 5 games. Now, when we look at those 5 games, what we do actually see is that May 7th faced off against Minnesota Timberwolves, had 17 points, rebounds, and assists in that matchup. Then we saw May 9th faced off against Minnesota, had 21 points, rebounds, and assists there. And then after that, we saw May 11th faced off against Minnesota again, had 16 points, rebounds, and assists. 12 points, rebounds, and assists against Minnesota on May 13th. Then May 16th faced off against Minnesota and had 25 points, rebounds, and assists there. So really, really interesting to see. Obviously, looking at someone like Julian, we have definitely seen him go, on the under in 2 out of those last 5, as we've mentioned. What we also do know is that his average over the last 5 is 18.2. So really, really interesting to see, because when we actually look at that matchup, we do also know that Julian and the San Antonio Spurs face off against Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, we have touched on this matchup, time and time again, and that's why coming into this next game, it is going to be an exciting one. But what we do also know is that, Julian and Spurs face off against a Thunder team that do rank very high. Now, we have touched on both of these teams where they do rank, but just a quick sort of reminder, Spurs do rank second. Now, the last 10 games of that season, they finished with a record of 8-2, so those were the last 10 games. And then Thunder rank a little bit higher, they rank first, and they also have a 7-3 record over the last 10 games as well. So it definitely has been a very, very interesting sort of, I would say, matchup for Julian coming into this game, because what we do also know, looking at these matchups, is that Julian is in a position where he is going to be playing a significant amount of minutes, but we do see him going on the under here. And that's due to the fact that when we look at Oklahoma City Thunder, we see OKC do actually allow 107.9 points per game, 0.9 points per game, and they actually rank second in that case. Then we also do see, when it comes to assists allowed, Thunder do rank 5th, allowing 25 assists per game. And we have mentioned this before, but rebounds allowed, they rank 20th, allowing 45.2 rebounds per game. So we actually have seen Oklahoma City Thunder do struggle a little bit in that rebounding category. However, overall, we do very much like the under for it. Now, for someone like Julian, what we also do know, looking at this matchup, is that he isn't, unfortunately, a main player for this actual, Spurs team. He also is a forward, which is a big thing here, because when we actually look at Oklahoma City Thunder, we do know that OKC are in a position where, they are doing a very, very good job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to Julian's position. So with that, including that, and also on top of that, Julian not really being the main player for this actual team, we definitely see him going on the under in this case. Now, for someone like actually Julian, what we also do know is that, we have seen him actually face off against Oklahoma City Thunder before, and not only just a couple of times, he's faced them off, multiple times, actually 5 games already. And when we actually look at these 5 games, starting off with their first matchup, which is the 13th of December, what we actually do see is that he's 27 minutes, 3 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 0 steals, and 1 block there. So we did actually see him, do a decent job, but he did actually go in the under in that case. Then we also saw on the 23rd of December, faced off again, so literally 10 days later, had 22 minutes, 4 points, 10 rebounds, 0 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block there. So he did actually go on the under in that case. After that, we also did see on the 25th of December, so literally 2 days after, we also saw 20 minutes, 0 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 0 steal, and 1 block. So very, very interesting to see. So when we actually look, at Julian, we definitely have seen, him go on the under quite a lot in those first 3 games. Then we saw on the 13th of January, had 34 minutes, 13 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 0 steals, and 1 block there. So we actually did see him do a great job in that one. He did go on the over in that game. And we saw on the actual 4th of February, had 27 minutes, 8 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists in that matchup, 0 steals, 0 blocks. But if we actually look at that, we do actually see that he has gone on the under in that game as well, just by 0.5 5. So very, very close. Now, when we actually look at this, what we also do know is that, Julian did go on the under in 4 out of those last 5 games, and it definitely has given us a very, very, big opportunity in a sense that, looking at that past data, we have seen him go on the under, so we should definitely see him go on the under here as well. Now, for that reason, we are definitely liking the under for it. For someone like actually Julian as well, not only has he gone on the under, but even when he has seen an increase, or some of the games where he has seen a bigger amount of minutes, over 20 minutes, we have actually seen him go on the under still. So Julian's usage rate doesn't really change that much. Yes, he went on the over in one of those games, but it's definitely not enough for us to like the under for it over overall. To like the over for it overall. So we still do very much like the under here. So for that reason, we are definitely liking the under for it. When we look at the pros, what we do actually see is that the pros do have him as we have him for 16.5, the pros do actually have him for 16 flat. So they have him for a slightly different line there. And because of that, it is, kind of difficult to compare the two in that sense. What we definitely can see, however, is the projection. And the projection they do have is 17.7. So they actually have him projected for the over. So that's a little bit different in that sense. But overall, we are definitely liking the under for this situation here. Now, for someone like also Julian, what we also did see is that the last 15 games, when you adjust the line to ours of 16.5, we do see that he has gone on the under in roughly around 54% of these matchups. So he has gone on the under quite a lot, which is why we are definitely expecting the under for this next game for sure. So definitely a lot of confidence there from us to like the under for it, and we definitely see it happening in this case. So for that reason, definitely keep an eye out for the under for this one. So Julian for 16.5 points, rebounds, and assists for less, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about Ajay Hartenstein. So as we all know, Isaiah, great player, and he's done a fantastic job for this Oklahoma City Thunder team. But this one is points and rebounds, so another combo one for 16.5, and this one actually is for less. Now, as I mentioned before, this is from the same game, but looking at this, we obviously do like the under, and looking at Ajay Hartenstein, we have actually seen him go on the under in 1 out of the last 5, and looking at those 5 games, we do also see that, April 28th faced off against Phoenix, had 30 points and rebounds there. May 6th faced off against the LA Lakers, had 17 points and rebounds in that matchup, 19 points and rebounds against LA Lakers on May 8th. Then May 10th faced off against the Lakers, had 21 points and rebounds, then 15 points and rebounds against the Lakers again on May 12th. So very interesting to see. Obviously, looking at that, we definitely have seen Ajay Hartenstein go on the under, in only a few of those games, or one of those games. But his average over the last 5 was also 20.4. So yes, he did do a pretty good job over those last games. But now we see a very new series, Oklahoma City Thunder facing off against the San Antonio Spurs. And we do know how this series, is definitely, going to pan out in this first game, because we've mentioned it in multiple of these picks. But first, starting off with, both of these teams, where they do rank. We have mentioned it all video, but a quick reminder, Thunder rank first, Spurs rank second. Thunder did have to go through 2 teams to get into this position. They had to go through the Suns, and they actually had to beat the Lakers, while Spurs beat the Trailblazers and Timberwolves to be in this position. So very good matchup from both of these teams. But looking at where Spurs do rank when it comes to points and rebounds, we have mentioned this previous, but Spurs do rank 8th when it comes to points allowed, allowing 111.5 points per game. And then rebounds allowed, Spurs rank 8th, allowing 42.6 rebounds per game. Now, we do actually see that they rank very high. But on top of that, and a big reason why we do like the under, is that when we look further, we also do see that Ajay Hartenstein, when it comes to him specifically, the reason why we do like the under for this situation is due to the fact that Spurs do a fantastic job at restricting points and rebounds to the center position. So for that reason, we are definitely liking the, under for this situation here. And we definitely see someone like, Isaiah going on the under due to the fact that he is going to be or having to face off against none other than Wembanyama. So it is going to be a big game for sure. Now, when we look at this, what we also do know looking at this matchup is that Hartenstein is in a position where we have definitely seen him, do a big or great job against the Lakers. The reason why it is going to change is due to the fact that this is a different series, different matchup. So we are definitely going to have a very different experience. So for that reason, we are definitely liking the under for this situation. And we definitely see someone like Isaiah Hartenstein going on the under here. Now, when we actually look at this, what we also do know for someone like Isaiah is that Oklahoma City Thunder do face off against none other than actually, a Spurs team that not only do a great job against big men, whether it's power forward or center, but we are expecting a healthy Spurs team with all of their with all their bigs out there, or defensive bigs, so that's definitely going to play a huge part. But when we look at Hartenstein and also how he's performed over the last couple of matchups against actually Spurs, we have seen them face off against each other 3 times before. Now, looking at these 3 matchups, we do actually see, starting off on the 13th of December, that matchup actually had 20 minutes, 10 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and 1 block there. So you actually have seen him, do a pretty decent job in that matchup, but we did actually also see him go on the over in there. Then we saw in their next matchup on the 23rd of December, have 26 minutes, 8 points, 12 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, and 0 blocks in that matchup. So obviously looking at that, we definitely did see him go on the over in that case. And then on the 25th of December, faced off against each other and had 24 minutes, 13 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1 steal there. So that was a very different matchup, but we still did see him go on the over. So he has gone on the over quite a lot. So why do we like the under for this situation? And as I mentioned before, the playoffs are going to be a very different sort of game. It's going to be very different sort of matchups. We are going to expect something completely different, and we could definitely see someone like Isaiah Hartenstein go on the under in this case. Now, for someone like Hartenstein as well, what we also do see when it comes to Hartenstein is that he is in a position where also, being this being game 1, we always do say that star players tend to perform a little bit better in that actual first game, while role players tend to take a little bit more of a back seat. So that's what we are expecting coming into this next one for sure, and we should definitely see someone like Isaiah Hartenstein going on the under in this case. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for the under for this one. And when it comes to Hartenstein and what the pros do have to say, we do see when we scroll over to that points and rebounds, we do actually see that Hartenstein, where he actually is right now, they do have him for 16.5. So they have him for the same line, and they too also have him favored for the under. So that definitely does give us a lot of sign or a lot of kind of confidence coming into this next one on why we do like the under. We are agreeing with the actual, bookies kind of prediction there, but the projection they do have by the pros is actually 18.2. So they have a different projection there, which is why it is a little bit different in that sense. But coming into this next one, we are actually going against the actual projection in this case. Now, looking at the last 15 games, he's gone on the under in 40% of those matchups, so very close at going to just actually, matchup on matchup basis. And looking at the matchup, we are expecting someone like Hartenstein to go on the under in this case. So for that reason, definitely keep an eye out for the under for someone like Hartenstein coming into this game, and we definitely see a lot of value there. So for that reason, definitely keep an eye out for the under for this one. So Isaiah Hartenstein, 16.5 points and rebounds for less, I think is a fantastic pick.